So we're going to spend about 3 more minutes like this. With each exhale, see if you can't sink a little deeper into the mat. But stay here and rest. And I'll tell you when we're going to move again. So from where you are right now, we're going to bring our right palm to heart center and put left palm on top of that, and take a moment right now to set an intention for this practice. And it might be the word relax or anything else that's important to you today. And then we're going to release those hands back down alongside the body. Let's let the knees go, the thighs straighten out. They're not resting on each other anymore. We can bring the feet a little closer together and one at a time bring those knees into the chest. Oh yeah, and gently rock side to side. Let the lower back kiss the earth and be happy. And then we're going to put one hand on top of each thigh, on top of each knee. Arms are straight. We inhale here, and as we exhale, the elbows bend and those knees come in. Just notice the lower back. Let it be on the earth. Inhale, they go away. There might be a slight arch in that lower back at this point, maybe big enough for a pencil. And exhale, those knees come in, that lower back finds the earth. We'll do 3 more like this. And then one at a time, we'll put the feet back onto the mat. So for me, it's the left foot and the right foot have come down. I'm going to extend my legs long, extend my arms long, take a big good morning stretch. Ooh. And then bend the knees, put the feet on the mat, roll to one side or the other. Doesn't matter which. We're going to pause on our sides. Take a breath. And then use that top arm and the bottom arm to help you come up to seated. And once we get to seated, we just pause for a moment. We let the glitter settle. Now we're going to sit on a cushion, a stack of blankets, whatever is comfortable for you. Could be a chair, the edge of your bed, sofa, I don't care. But sit on something so that you can be comfortable. We're going to work with hands, shoulders first. So I am sitting on this cushion. And I'm just going to take a comfortable cross-legged seat, a little crisscross applesauce. If you are in a chair, your legs will just be straight ahead and you don't worry about crossing them. And let's bring right palm to heart center. And we're going to take that left hand across like we're shaking the hand of our neighbor on our right. So right here, right now, you feel a little stretch in the outside of that right left arm, sorry, left shoulder. And then we take this hand that's on the heart and we bring it to the outside of the upper arm, just to guide that arm across the body. It's a big stretch in the outside of that left shoulder. And if you like, and this is what I like to do, I just kind of slide my arm down until my hands are crossed at the wrists. So my right hand is kind of pulling back my left arm, the big stretch in the back of that left shoulder. And we breathe here. And then release it. Let it rest back in your lap. Notice the difference, one side to the other. And then take that left hand to heart center, just right in the center, just kind of resting there. Now, as we come here, you see that the upper body's in a little bit of a twist here. My shoulders are, my shoulders, my collarbones are kind of pointing that way. But my sitting bones are real firm in my cushion. Take this hand on the heart, bring it to the outside. Just a gentle guidance. Like this is where we want the arm to be. We're not pulling or yanking. We're just kind of guiding it. And then we'll release. Let those hands both rest in your lap. Let's take a couple circles with the shoulders. That just feels good. And then pause. We're going to take our hands forward into very soft fists. So my fingers are curled, but they're not tight. They're just curled. And I'm going to make some circles. My wrists are circling towards one another. Little circles, nothing big. And then I'm going to let it get a little bit bigger and the elbow might be involved. So my elbow is bending and straightening and continuing this circular motion. And then I'm going to let it go out to the side a little bit. And now it's the shoulders that are involved. So my elbows can bend and straighten, but it's really the shoulders doing some work now. They're coming together on the back and then separating. I've got all kinds of stuff happening on the back of my body. And then we're going to pause mid-circle and go the other way. Those big circles that include the shoulders. Arms are out to the side. I'm making the circles as big as is comfortable for me. And I'm going to soften those and start to have the hands come more forward. Shoulders are going to come out of it. Elbows are involved now. Elbows are going to come out of it. And it's just my wrists again. And then I'm going to rest my hands back in my lap. And just take a moment here. Close or soften the eyes. Notice that whole shoulder complex. Notice the upper back. Notice how things feel. Let's take our right arm forward, palm away from you, stop in the name of love, I like to call this. Now we're going to take our left hand and pull back on those three middle fingers, and let thumb and pinky get as far apart as possible. And then we release, we'll flip the hand down. So now my palm is away from me, fingers are pointing down. I'm going to pull those same three fingers back, separating thumb and pinky as far as I possibly can. And then release. How does your right hand feel compared to your left? Left hand, stop in the name of love. Take back fingers 2, 3, 4, separate fingers 1 and 5. Shoulders down from the ears. And then release, and we'll take it the other way. So the palm is away from me, my fingers pointing down. Same 3 fingers come back, my palm reaches forward, but thumb and pinky separate. And then release, hands back in your lap, pause, notice. Notice now the fingers, the wrists, the forearms. Now we're going to go into a little conducting. So my arms are going to come up. There might be a slight cross or not, but we're working with shoulders, with elbows, with forearms. Fingers are pretty much staying the same. Imagine you're conducting a symphony. Now, I am a child of two musicians, so if they ever saw me doing this, they'd probably yell at me. But imagine you're a conductor. Just pretend what we see on TV, or when we go to the symphony. We don't have to know what we're doing. And then pause. Hands rest. Notice the upper arm, the shoulder, the forearm. And now we're going to take it all the way to the fingertips. So we're going to do what I like to call those hypnotism hands. So each finger moves. The palm kind of extends and retracts. So each finger is involved. Fingers are working. The arms are working. You could even go from one side to the other very slowly, and we get a little bit of a twist happening as well. And imagine you're hypnotizing someone. Just as bad as the conducting, right? And then pause, hands rest in your lap. Do palms up, just notice how the fingers are like, oh yeah, I got something to do too now. Next one I call taffy pulls. So we're gonna bring our hands down so that the wrists are flexed. You can bring the fingers together, but this is what we're working on, that flex of the wrist, which is the opposite of when we are in that, if we are in hands and knees. So let's work here, bringing fingers together, just a little taffy pull. You can do it like this if you like, but really that flexion in the wrist, opening up the back of that wrist. And then pause and stop. Hands in the lap. Notice how the backs of the hands feel. Really tuning in to each movement. Okay, and then squid, which is my favorite. We bring the fingers together, and then it's almost like we're flicking water, like squid. Bloop, bloop, bloop. And if you want to make the blooping sound, you can. Bloop, bloop, bloop. We can do them both at the same time if that feels good. And as you flick, let's do the fingers as wide as you can when you're flicking, including the thumbs in that as well. And then stop. Hands in the lap. We'll do a little jazz hands, jazz hands, jazz hands. My left hand doesn't jazz hand as well as my right hand does. It's weird. But I think that's normal too. And then stop, and then shake out your hands. There's no paper towels in the restroom. Let the hands rest in your lap. They can rest palms up or palms down. I would say soften or close the eyes just so you can tune in to sensation. Starting with the very tips of the fingers, moving into the palm, the wrist, the forearm, and the elbows. Notice the upper arms and the shoulders. And just notice all of that sensation, all of that energy moving around. And then we're going to make our way back down to the mat. But this time we're going to use a few props. So what we're going to do right now, we're going to use our bolster. So here I am moving off it so that I can move it to the side a little bit. we're going to keep it on the ground, and we don't normally do this. So, let's see how it goes. We make the adjustments. I'm going to put this blanket up to the top to help support my head and neck. And you might want to do that. Only my head would be on that, not my shoulders. Bottom on the floor. So my bum is on the floor, bum on the floor, bum on the floor. And then I'm going to grab my 2 blocks too, because I got lower back and hip issues. So the blocks will help me. So here's what we're doing. We're sitting on the floor, bottom on the floor, and we're going to lower ourselves down onto this cushion. My head is supported by this blanket. Now let's bend the knees, put the feet onto the mat. Bum is on the floor. I just kind of had to do a little adjustment to get that bum on the floor. We have a lot of choices with our legs. We can bend the knees, put the feet a little wider than the hips, and let the thighs rest on each other. This is constructive rest pose, similar to the way we started today. Or we can bring the soles of the feet together, let the knees be wide. Now, if your legs rest all the way on the floor in this open position, you can rest here. Mine do not. So I would put these, we put these little blocks underneath the thighs. And now my thighs can rest very heavily onto these blocks. And you see, I have them at an angle. They are resting at an angle so that this feels good on my thighs. And then this is a nice pose. If you are absolutely miserable, you don't do the pose, right? You can prop this cushion up a little bit with blocks underneath it. Once you've got the legs set up, the upper body set up, the legs set up, then you can let those arms rest alongside the body. Palms are up. And we're going to be here for about 5 minutes. I've noted the time. I'll keep track of it. And I'm going to be silent now for the next 5 minutes. I'll let you know when it's time to move again. It's time to begin our transition to this pose, from this pose. So let's take our hands, and if the knees are wide, we'll bring the hands to the outside of the thighs and gently guide the knees up. So those blocks might fall or whatever. And if your knees are already up, you're good. Bring the feet closer together. And we're very slowly going to roll to one side or the other. You can come off of this cushion if you like, just coming to one side, resting your head on your arm. Just rest here for a moment. We're finding that equilibrium, transitioning from lying on our backs to lying on our sides. And then our next transition will take us up to seated for a moment. So use that top hand to start the process. Use that bottom hand to continue the process. Make your way up to seated. Let the glitter settle here. And then we're going to clear the mats, make our way back down to the back. Keep a block available close by. And then if you want something for underneath your head and neck, grab that blanket, towel, whatever it is to support your head. So, really important that when we're lying on our backs, we're not stretched back like this. It's just the way we're built or made. It doesn't mean that, we're old or funny, just the way we're made. That's all. So decide if you want a blanket there, put it down. Only your head is on the blanket, shoulders are on the mat. Keep a block close at hand. And bend both knees, put both feet on the mat. And just notice where your lower back is right now. Can we bring that down to the floor? And then we're going to bend those knees, bring them into the body, hugging both knees in. Again, pay attention to lower back where it is right now. And then very slowly, we're going to send those legs up to the ceiling. So take your time, take your time. Just see what it feels like to send the legs to the ceiling. The hamstrings might say, oh, good morning or good afternoon. That's fine. Notice what that feels like. Lower back is on the floor. So don't let that back arch. You can hug in those thighs if that helps, right? This is where we need to be. Lower back on the floor. Let's take a few breaths here. This is a nice little inversion for us. And then let's open the legs wide. So wide, wider than close together. My legs don't go very wide. Plus there's a wall right here next to my back foot. So this is as wide as I want to be. I'm going to keep my feet flexed and active. I'm going to keep that lower back on the ground. And then very slowly bring those legs back together and above you. So the heels are reaching for the ceiling. Let's rotate the feet at the ankles, both going in the same direction, And then pause, go the other way. You'll see that my knees are pretty darn bent here. And then pause and just do some pointing and flexing. Pointing and flexing. And then we'll bend those knees in again. Bend them in, bend them in, bend them in. Hug them in. Lower back on the floor. And one at a time, we'll release those feet to the mat. Feet are on the mat. Thighs are parallel, shins are parallel. Grab your block. And we're going to take this block and we're going to hug it between the thighs with the long edge parallel to the earth. So that means I'm squeezing on the very narrowest side. That's where I want to be. I want the narrowest side between my thighs. My feet are pretty close into my body because we're going to work with bridge now. And let's come up onto the right toes. Just lift that right heel and then put it back down on the floor and lift the left heel and put it back down on the floor and just feel that connection to the earth. Bring your arms down alongside the body. Palms are down. Fingertips are pointing away from you. Thumbs are pointing towards you. And we're going to push into the feet and just lift up that tailbone just a little bit. We might not even see it to the visible eye, just the tailbone. And then lower all the way back down. So what happens? We squeeze the block, we push into the feet, we lift that tailbone, we tip the tailbone up. It's fractions of an inch that the hips are lifting, and then we release. Now this next round, we'll lift the tailbone and the sacrum. So maybe we will see a little lift here, big enough for like a mouse to get through, and then lower. And let's try that again. Push into the feet. It's the tailbone and the sacrum. Lift up just a little bit. And then we lower. We push into the feet. We squeeze the block. It's tailbone, it's sacrum, it's lower back, lifting up. And we let it come all the way back down. Same way, lower back, sacrum, tailbone. Now the sacrum is that flat bone. We could also say hips there if that helps. So tailbone, hips, lower back, lift, and then they lower. Lower back, hips, tailbone. We're going to take it a little higher. Arms are long. We push into the palms, push into the feet, squeeze the blocks. Squeeze the block, lift up tailbone, sacrum, lower back, mid back. And then lower from the top down. Notice where the weight is in your feet. Can you make the weight be in the toes as well as the heels? We'll do that again. We're going to push into the arms, push into the feet, squeeze the block, lift the tailbone, hips, lower back, mid back. Let's lift up. Let's hold now. Lift it up, pushing down into the upper arms, maybe even that space between the shoulders lifts. The head is pushing into the earth, and then we're going to lower from the top again. Lower, 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 lower. And we're going to do one more like that, held at the top. So push into the arms, push into the feet. It's the tailbone, the hips, the low back, the mid back, and that space up between the shoulders. We're pushing into the entire arm, pushing into the entire foot, pushing into the back of the head. And we're breathing here. And then from the very top of the spine, from the middle of the shoulder blades to the mid back, to the lower back, the hips, and the tailbone. Let's release that block, put it off to the side. One at a time, bend the knees, gently rock side to side, bring them in. Yeah, let this release. Let this feel good. It should feel pretty wonderful. And then we're going to put both feet back on the floor now. So left knee, right knee in my case. My feet are parallel, my shins are parallel, my thighs are parallel. And let's bring the right knee in, right hand on top of right knee. And I'm just going to make some circles in that thigh socket. Just as big as is comfortable for both my hip and my arm. So this doesn't have to be the world's largest circle, doesn't have to be the whole range of motion. Nor do we have to keep the rest of the body still. You may notice your weight going into and out of the left hip and that left knee going back and forth. That's okay. We're all connected. Now pause. Make those same slow circles other direction. And as slowly as you are going, can you go slower? And then when you've finished out, when you've evened out those circles, release the right foot back to the ground and extend the right leg long. Let it be on the edge of your mat. Let the toes flop open, and then left leg goes long. Toes flop open. Just pause here. Notice the difference how things might feel differently, one side of the hip to the other. Notice the right hip and the left hip. Also, I'm feeling sensations in my right thigh. So we bend the knees, we put both feet back on the mat. We bring the left knee in and put left hand on top of the left knee. And we start making very slow circles with that left knee, just slow circles in one direction. And then pause and let those circles go even slower in the other direction. And then when you've evened out those circles in both directions, we pause, we put the left foot back on the ground. We extend the left leg long and let it be towards the edge of your mat, like it's gonna flop off the mat. Let the toes flop open and then extend right leg long. You can keep your hands right there at that hip crease, or you can let them rest off the body and just notice sensations, hips and thighs. And then one at a time, we bring those knees in, with the feet on the mat. We roll to one side or the other. We're making that transition back up to seated for a moment. Come on up. Let the glitter settle when you arrive. And then we're going to clear the mat again. And now we're coming down to the belly. So I might take it at an angle just so I can talk to the screen a little better. So coming to the belly, elbows underneath the shoulders. So this is Sphinx pose we're setting up for. Elbows underneath the shoulders. So I kind of look like that Sphinx. When we're here at this point, let's let the legs be as wide as the mat. That's just a little nicer on that lower back. And I'd really like you to think of lengthening the spine rather than like lifting. So don't push into the elbows to lift your head up, but pull back on the forearms to lengthen the spine. Unclench your bum because I know that mine is clenching right now. Your neck is in line with the spine and your nose is pointed to that space between your forearms, between your pointer fingers actually. And we want our forearms to be parallel, palms down. We don't want those hands to cross each other. We want the hands to be parallel. And that way, when your neck is in line with the spine, your nose is looking right at that spot between the pointer fingers. This is our Sphinx pose. Drop the shoulders from the ears, breathing here. Feet are wide, bum is soft. Okay, this is one of those places where that butt clenches because it wants to do the work. Do not let it clench. Sometimes I have to like wiggle my bum to remind it, no, you're not doing the job here. What is working here is we're really stacking. We're playing with gravity. We're just stacking the body above the elbow. Now, slowly and carefully, we're going to take an inhale, and as we exhale, we'll just turn and look over left shoulder, just a gentle turn. And then come back to neutral. We'll take another inhale and slowly look over the left shoulder. And come back to neutral. Let's do it again. Just real slow movement, just like we started when we had our head on that block at the beginning. And then even out the sides. So finishing, I believe, with a glance over the left shoulder. Coming back to center, stacking the palms, let the elbows be wide. Drop the forehead to the back of your hands. Coming into crocodile pose. So the legs are wide, the palms are stacked, the forehead is on the back of those hands, elbows are wide. Soften the shoulders. This is a little bit, very, very soft, gentle forward fold, but notice what it's like to breathe here. Pushing as you inhale, filling up the belly, pushes against the mat. Exhale, releasing. Inhale, filling up the back, expands into all of that space, which is, the back is free, right? We're not lying on the floor any longer. Take 3 more breaths here. And we'll begin our transition. Now, where we're headed, we're going to make our way to our back. If you want to just roll over, you can keep that cushion close to you. If you want to push up through hands and knees and then come to your back, that's what I will do. Bringing my hands back by underneath the shoulders by the rib cage, pushing myself up to hands and knees. And then walking myself back. Now I'm going to grab this cushion. Blanket for the head. And I'm going to keep this cushion close by. One more time, I bend my knees, put my feet on the mat, and this time my feet are as wide as the mat. As a matter of fact, my big toes are on the mat and the rest of my foot is off the mat. Arms are out wide, palms are up. So they're slightly lower than shoulder height. I'm going to take an inhale. As I exhale, I'm going to let both knees drop to the right, a little bit of a windshield wiper twist. Breathing here. And then inhale, take them back through center. And the exhale will take them to the other side. And we'll do it again. We'll let the next inhale lift the knees. Exhale, let's let the knees go to the right. Let the nose go to the left. So the whole spine is included in this twist. And then we inhale, knees up. Nose to center. Exhale, knees left, nose right. And bring everything back to center. Let's grab that cushion. And we're gonna come to a little reverse child's pose here. So I'm bringing my cushion like onto my belly and I'm gonna lift up my legs and kind of cross my ankles above it and grab it. And this just puts us into a position of a fold because of the relationship to my thighs to my torso. So this is just a little fold. We're calling it an upside down child's pose, just to bring a little symmetry back into the body after the twisting. Notice where your lower back is, keep it on the earth. And then because I promised symmetry, I'm going to switch the cross of my legs, cross of my ankles, cross of my fingers, just to bring symmetry back into the body. And then we're going to make our way to Shavasana. So what I was thinking is we just take this cushion that we've got between our legs and we put it on the floor underneath thighs and knees with as little disturbance as possible. So right now, the way this cushion is, my thighs are supported, my knees are supported, but my heels are resting on the earth, which is exactly what I want. I don't want my legs dangling. That makes my whole body tense up. We turn the palms up about 45 degrees from the body. We soften the jaw, let the tongue come away from the roof of the mouth. And we've got about 7 more minutes just to rest. So again, I'll stop talking. You rest here, allowing each breath to take you deeper into the mat. Now listen to my voice. Without moving, just begin to deepen your breath. And bring your awareness back to that place where you're practicing yoga. And even though we're practicing separately, we are practicing together, which is pretty amazing. Bring some small motion into the head and neck, gentle movements one side to the other as slowly as possible. And then let the head and neck be still. Bring some motion into fingers and wrists, just slow motion like you're underwater or in outer space or something, slow motion. And same thing with the feet and the ankles. You might want to spread your toes or point your feet, whatever it is, just some slow motions. And then we'll let all of those limbs be still. We'll bend the knees and bring the knees into the body. And we're going to make our way onto our right side, resting our head on our right arm like a pillow. Just stay there. Recall the intention that you set at the beginning of our class. And then we make that transition to seated one last time. So that top arm pushes into the floor and then the bottom arm engages to bring you up to a seat. Yeah, let yourself be comfortable. Sit up tall. And notice how you feel. We'll bring the palms together at heart center, uniting left and right sides of the body. Let the thumbs rest on the sternum. Tuck your chin and thank yourself for taking time out of your busy schedule on this beautiful day to practice yoga. Thank you so much for allowing me to guide you. I will say namaste and ask you to unmute so that we can say goodbye. Goodbye, Mary. Oh, there.
Bye, Nina. Have a good week.
Good week,
Goodbye.
Nina.
Take
Thank
care,
you.
everyone. Thank you, Carol.
Thank you.
Hope that felt good.
It's a great
Hi,
class.
Nina. Thank
Good.
you. That was
Thank you
perfect
very
for
much.
me.
Hope to see you next week.
Thank
Very
you.
good. Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.